What the bloody hell did you do that for?
Because Christian is going to win Britain's Got Talent!
On the show Britain's Got Talent, David Walliams was once considered to be one of the most well-liked contestants. Not only did he bring laughter to the performances over the course of 10 years, but he also became the show's heart and soul. Because of his charisma, sense of humor, and intriguing contrast with Simon Cowell, he became an irreplaceable arbitrator. Regardless, David's career on the show came to an abrupt end in 2022 due to a shocking scandal that occurred during that year. The inappropriate comments he made about the contestants were revealed in a recording that was leaked. As a result of the pressure from the public, ITV and the organizers of Big Brother were forced to take a firm stance, which ultimately resulted in David's departure. This decision left many fans feeling disappointed. However, what actually took place after his meteoric rise to fame, his golden years, and his unexpected fall from grace? What does the future hold for David Walliams? Come with me as we delve into the specifics of this video. He was born in London in 1971 under the name David Edward Williams, and he was raised in a family that belonged to the middle class. His father was an engineer, and his mother worked as a laboratory technician. David exhibited a natural sense of humor starting at a young age, and he had a strong passion for performing on stage. On the other hand, transforming his talent into a career was not an easy task. As David was attending classes at the University of Bristol, he made the decision to pursue acting on a more serious level. It was there that he became a member of the Footlights, the illustrious comedy troupe that was affiliated with Cambridge University. The Footlights had produced legendary performers like John Cleese and Stephen Fry. He honed his skills in scriptwriting, performing, and acting during this time period, thereby laying a solid foundation for his ongoing and future professional endeavors. At the Footlights, David was introduced to Matt Lucas, a companion who shared his enthusiasm for comedy and was a similar-minded individual. In a short amount of time, they came together to form a partnership and began producing satirical sketches that bore their individual stamp. Even though they began with relatively modest performances, David was able to recognize the power of comedy in terms of connecting with audiences through the use of these sketches. The two individuals broadened their career by participating in radio comedy shows, during which they experimented with a variety of characters and performative styles. Following a number of years of dogged determination, David and Matt Lucas finally achieved a significant breakthrough in 2003 when they launched Little Britain. With its cast of eccentric characters, this comedy series offered a satirical commentary on the contemporary society of the United Kingdom. Not only did David play a single role, but he also transformed into a number of different characters, ranging from wealthy women to working-class men, each of whom possessed their own unique characteristics. Almost immediately, Little Britain became a phenomenon, not only in the United Kingdom, but also in a great number of other countries. The popularity of the show can be attributed to its sharp social satire, which was not only humorous but also thought-provoking. On the other hand, it was also a source of controversy, as certain characters were criticized for potentially being offensive or discriminatory. David's status was undeniably elevated as a result of Little Britain, which made him one of the most sought-after comedians in Britain. This is despite the fact that there were debates. David decided to explore a variety of creative fields because he did not want to be limited to serving a single role. Through his first children's book, The Boy in the Dress, which was published in 2008, he made his debut in the world of literature. The book tells the story of a young boy who is a fan of wearing dresses and his journey towards acceptance. Because of the favorable reviews that the book received, David was able to embark on an exciting new career path. Over the course of the subsequent years, he continued to publish a number of books that went on to become highly successful, such as Gangster Granny, Mr. Stink, and Billionaire Boy. Not only did these works achieve tremendous commercial success, but they were also adapted into films and stage plays, which helped to solidify his reputation as a writer of children's literature. Through his humorous and profound storytelling, he was able to cultivate a devoted readership and even garner comparisons to Roald Dahl, who is widely regarded as one of the most accomplished authors in the genre. David never failed to remain in the public eye, despite the fact that he was a successful writer. In addition to continuing to participate in comedy shows, he also tried his hand at a variety of roles, ranging from film acting to judging television competitions. Despite the rapid changes that occurred in the entertainment industry over the years, he was able to keep his popularity and appeal thanks to his versatility. His journey, on the other hand, was anything but smooth. When David was just starting out in his career, he encountered a great deal of difficulty. Throughout his career, he encountered a wide range of obstacles, from being ignored to performing in venues that were almost completely empty. When he was just starting out as a comedian, he frequently gave performances in intimate bars, where the audience seldom paid attention to his acts. There were times when he questioned whether or not he would be able to make it in the entertainment industry, which is considered to be extremely competitive. On the other hand, David gradually established a name for himself by maintaining a dogged determination. After joining Britain's Got Talent in 2012, he quickly became a welcome addition to the show and a breath of fresh air for the audience. David adopted an entirely different approach in contrast to the other judges, particularly Simon Cowell, who maintained a serious demeanor throughout the competition. From witty jokes to outrageous antics, he was not afraid to be playful on live television. He was not afraid to be playful. By virtue of this contrast, they became one of the most entertaining judge duos in the history of the competition, thereby establishing a powerful presence on the panel of judges. David did not simply judge the contestants based on their level of skill. Emotion was another factor that he considered when making judgments, and he was always encouraging people, even those who weren't particularly exceptional. Simon experienced frustration as a result of this, but at the same time, it contributed to the show's sense of humor and balance. One of the most notable aspects of the show was the dynamic that existed between David and Simon Cowell. David never failed to find ways to make Simon laugh, despite the fact that Simon kept up an unfriendly and solemn demeanor. When David unexpectedly kissed Simon on live television, it was one of the most memorable moments of the show because it caused the entire studio to burst out laughing. Indeed, he did not end there. He made jokes about Simon's rigid personality on a regular basis, and he even referred to him as the love of my life in front of viewers numbering in the millions. The chemistry between them added more excitement to the show without drawing attention away from the contestants' overall talent. Despite the fact that he was constantly making fun of Simon, David was able to keep his equilibrium and make sure that each performance was interesting, even when the act itself was not particularly impressive. David Walliams was a member of the judging panel for more than a decade, and during that time, he was responsible for countless memorable moments. A young contestant named Malachi Poole, who was experiencing nerves on stage, broke down in tears, which was one of the most heartwarming moments of the competition. After a moment of hesitation, David stepped down, gently reassured him, and encouraged him to proceed with the conversation. His status as one of the most well-liked judges in the history of the show was solidified by this kind and thoughtful gesture. In addition to these emotionally charged moments, David became well known for his rule-breaking antics, which frequently sparked heated debates among the other judges for the competition. On one occasion, he made the decision to give a contestant who had already been eliminated a second chance, despite the fact that Simon and the other judges had unanimously pressed the red buzzer. Despite the fact that this decision sparked arguments on stage, it also gave the audience the impression that Britain's Got Talent was more than just a competition. Rather, it was a place where anyone's dreams could come true. In a different instance, David drove Simon absolutely insane by acting as though he was enjoying a contestant who lacked any talent whatsoever. As soon as Simon pressed the buzzer to eliminate them, David immediately pressed the golden buzzer, which is a privilege that is reserved exclusively for truly exceptional actions. Despite the fact that everyone was aware that it was merely a joke, Simon's exasperated response caused the audience to roar with laughter instead. There were also many entertaining moments that took place between David and Simon in the backstage area of Britain's Got Talent, which was located off stage. There were multiple instances in which David covertly changed Simon's script, which resulted in Simon reading out lines that were completely unexpected. Simon had no choice but to acknowledge that David brought a lively energy to the show, despite the fact that he was visibly annoyed. Despite the fact that Britain's Got Talent already had a significant amount of appeal prior to David's participation, the show lacked a certain warmth that connected with viewers. That void was filled by David. He was not only a judge, but he also established a new rhythm for the show, which helped to alleviate tense situations and bolster the confidence of contestants who were feeling anxious. Even the other judges were swayed by his dry sense of humor. It was not uncommon for Amanda Holden and Alicia Dixon to find themselves in the middle of his jokes. At one point, David managed to make Alicia burst out laughing by persuading her to dance with a contestant who everyone believed would be eliminated from the competition right away. The manner in which David presided over the competition not only made the show more entertaining, but it also brought in a new audience segment. There were a lot of people who tuned in not only because of his talent, but also because of his comedic presence. Throughout each season, his playful interactions with Simon became a highlight, and they were frequently compiled into videos that went viral on social media. On the other hand, David did not always receive approval from everyone, despite the fact that he was very popular. His humor was sometimes considered to be excessive, which was perceived as a way to undermine the seriousness of the competition. In certain circumstances, the audience had the impression that his jokes were inappropriate. Although there were a variety of opinions regarding him, the majority of viewers continued to consider him to be the best judge the show had ever had. During his tenure as host of Britain's Got Talent, David Walliams transformed the show into a platform that not only showcased extraordinary talent, but also provided unforgettable moments. In addition to providing the contestants with an opportunity to shine, he brought joy to the show, which made it more captivating than it had ever been before. When the scandal was brought to light, the show and its audience were left in a state of shock. This was due to the enormous influence that he possessed. Someone who had brought so much laughter and emotion to the audience all of a sudden became the center of the most significant controversy in the history of Britain's Got Talent, and this marked the most severe downfall of his career. The scandal that brought David down. In November of 2020, David Walliams' position on Britain's Got Talent was brought down as a result of a shocking scandal that occurred. Following the release of a backstage recording, it was discovered that he had made inappropriate comments about a few of the contestants. Over the course of a few days, this was not a story that would be forgotten. David's journey with the show, which had lasted for 10 years, came to an official end when the controversy quickly erupted, dominating the headlines of the media and the conversations that took place on social media. The recording, which was initially made public by The Guardian, revealed David's controversial remarks that were made during a recording session in January of 2020. In the conversation that was leaked, he was seen making offensive remarks about an elderly male contestant. He used language that was so offensive that few people could have imagined coming from someone who is known for his humorous and friendly public image. But that wasn't the end of it. Additional inappropriate comments that David had made about a female contestant were brought to light by the recording. Because they directly contradicted the positive image that he had carefully built up over the course of his years as a judge, these words immediately sparked a wave of public outrage after they were spoken. There was a rapid response from the media to the story. A number of prominent publications, including the Daily Mail, The Sun, and The Independent, provided extensive coverage of the event, while social media was rife with heated debates. Following the revelation that their idol had made such remarks, a great number of fans expressed profound dissatisfaction and a sense of being betrayed. On the other hand, there were those who defended David, arguing that these were private jokes that should not have resulted in such severe complications. ITV, the network that is responsible for Britain's Got Talent, has issued an official statement in response to the growing pressure from the public. They stated unequivocally that the show would not tolerate any behavior that could be considered harmful or offensive to the contestants. Despite the fact that they did not specifically name David, it was abundantly clear that the statement was directed towards him. With the growing backlash, David was left with no other option but to respond. He expressed profound regret for his words, recognizing that they were inappropriate and stating that he had never intended to cause harm to anyone. He did this in a statement that covered a wide range of topics. Furthermore, he emphasized that this was a private conversation that was never intended to be made public in any way, shape, or material. It was not possible for him to save his reputation, regardless of whether or not his apology was genuine. Despite the fact that some people acknowledged it and asked for forgiveness, many others argued that a public figure such as David ought to take more responsibility for the words that he had spoken. Only a few weeks after the scandal was made public, David made the announcement that he would be leaving Britain's Got Talent. However, was this truly a choice that he alone made? It was widely reported by media insiders that he had been forcefully removed from his position, despite the fact that ITV never issued an official statement regarding his dismissal. It was revealed by sources within the industry that ITV had held a number of internal meetings to discuss the situation, and the conclusion that they ultimately came to was that David could no longer continue to appear on the show. A number of the other judges, including Simon Cowell, Amanda Holden, and Alicia Dixon, refrained from making any public statements regarding the incident. On the other hand, when they found out what was on the recording, they were reportedly in a state of profound shock, as stated by different sources. It was reported that Simon Cowell, who had a close relationship with David, had a private conversation with him prior to the decision being made, which ultimately led to the final outcome. Having previously served as a judge on Strictly Come Dancing, Bruno Tonioli was appointed to take David's place on the panel of judges. From the moment this decision was made, fans responded with a variety of emotions. Despite the fact that Bruno was a seasoned judge, many people believed that he was unable to bring the same charm and humor that David possessed. A number of people expressed their regret that the show had lost a significant portion of its essence. David continued to be the subject of a divided public opinion even as the scandal continued to unfold. There were some supporters who believed that it was nothing more than a brief slip-up and that he deserved a second chance. Many people took to social media to defend him, arguing that private conversations that took place behind the scenes should not be used to characterize his entire personality. They brought up the fact that David had been a part of the show for more than a decade, during which time he had produced hundreds of memorable moments, and that a single controversy should not be enough to dismiss everything that he had contributed. On the other hand, some people believed that his departure was unavoidable. In a time when offensive remarks can have long-lasting repercussions, they argued that fame and talent should not be exceptions to this rule. They were of the opinion that a judge on a major reality competition such as Britain's Got Talent needed to be held accountable for their words and actions, regardless of how charming or humorous David was. Over the course of several months after he left the show, these debates continued. However, David made the decision to maintain his silence. He refrained from discussing the incident with the media, did not respond to rumors, and did not make any additional statements regarding the incident. David was almost completely absent from television screens after he left his position on Britain's Got Talent. On television, there were no more childish antics, and there were no more animated conversations with Simon Cowell. His life became more secluded and quiet as he withdrew into himself. But this did not mean that he had completely ceased his actions. The life that follows the limelight. As a result of the scandal that occurred in 2022, major television networks appeared reluctant to work with David. Inviting people to appear on talk shows and reality shows became an increasingly unique occurrence. In addition to this, he stopped making frequent appearances at events hosted by the media or on well-known television programs. There was no way to deny the fact that David's reputation had suffered a significant setback as a result of the scandal. When it comes to the entertainment industry, a single controversy has the potential to reverse decades of achieved success in an instant. Nevertheless, David chose to concentrate on activities that he had the ability to control, such as writing books and producing animated films, rather than waiting for a return to television. Regardless of the controversy, he continued to be one of the most successful authors of children's books in the United Kingdom. Books such as Gangster Granny, Mr. Stink, and The Boy in the Dress continued to be bestsellers even after the scandal that occurred. After David's time spent watching television was no longer consumed by it, he devoted himself to his own personal projects. He carried on with his writing, expanded his career in publishing, and started adapting his stories for the big screen. The year 2023 saw the adaptation of his book, Robodog, into an animated film, which featured voice acting from a number of well-known actors. One could consider this to be a strategic move. Instead of making an effort to reclaim his previous position on television, David made an investment in a sector of the industry in which he had full control over creating content. After years of hard work, David Walliams has maintained his position as one of the most successful children's authors in the United Kingdom. His works had been translated into dozens of languages, and they had captivated readers of all ages and generations. His books have sold more than 50 million copies around the world. David's personal life continued to captivate the public's attention even after his career had ended. Since the year 2015, when he divorced the supermodel Lara Stone, he had not remarried and had not publicly confirmed any new relationships. Throughout their time together, David and Lara had been one of the most talked about couples in the entertainment industry. After meeting in 2009, they quickly developed a romantic relationship and got married the following year. Due to the fact that both Lara, a leading supermodel, and David, a well-known comedian and television star, were highly influential figures, their wedding was an event that received a lot of attention and discussion. The couple's marriage appeared to be perfect, but it was abruptly terminated in the year 2015. Sources suggested that David yearned for a secure family life, whereas Lara preferred a more independent and vibrant way of life. However, the precise reason for David's decision was never disclosed. With the passage of time, their divergent points of view created distance between them, which ultimately resulted in their separation. After the divorce, David devoted his full attention to his professional life and to raising his son, Alfred. In spite of the fact that he rarely disclosed private information, the few instances that he shared on social media were centered on Alfred and the activities that they did on a daily basis. Photographs of David taking his son on adventures, going on vacations together, or participating in outdoor activities were displayed frequently for his fans to see. Regardless of how hectic his work schedule was, he never failed to find time to get together with Alfred. David had become more mature as a result of becoming a single parent, which assisted him in discovering joy in life beyond the barriers of his personal and professional life. David was rumored to have joined Raya, a dating app for celebrities, in the year 2023, according to the rumors. According to the reports, his profile included photographs of him with his two cherished dogs, Bert and Ernie. David, however, never confirmed or denied the claims that were made. David continued to make public appearances on occasion, despite the fact that he was no longer the popular face of reality television. He continued to participate in charitable activities, particularly those that served the needs of children. Within the same year, he was present at the premiere of Robodog, where he expressed his excitement about seeing his work adapted for the screen. In response to a question about Britain's Got Talent, he chose to avoid discussing the show's history and instead concentrate on his upcoming projects. For those who have high hopes for a spectacular return to television, it is possible that disappointment is inevitable. David appeared to be content with his life at the moment, free from the pressures of the spotlight and the constraints of reality television. After being involved in scandals, many celebrities in the entertainment industry were able to successfully return to their former glory. However, such comebacks required time and the appropriate strategy. David had not yet demonstrated any indications that he intended to come back. He did not accept invitations to appear on talk shows, he refrained from giving interviews about the scandal, and he did not have any projects that were known to be related to reality television. Because of this, many people were led to believe that he had made a deliberate decision to end that phase of his professional life. Given the presence of someone like David, however, anything is possible. It is possible that public opinion would change if he were to reappear in an interesting project. He might still have a chance to return to the show if it was able to match his signature humor and charisma without rekindling the controversy that he has been involved in the past. It seemed as though he was not in a hurry at this moment. Following a major scandal, he had established a successful career that was independent of television, which is something that very few entertainers are able to accomplish. Even though he was still working on film adaptations of his works, his books continued to be successful in the marketplace. David was able to maintain a devoted audience that followed his every move, despite the fact that he was no longer able to grace television screens with his signature comedic performances. And perhaps most importantly, David Walliams will continue to be a well-known figure in the British entertainment industry, regardless of whether or not he makes a comeback to television. A talented comedian, an author who has achieved success, and someone who has been through both successes and failures, continues to discover new ways to achieve their creative goals. He has never lost his sense of humor or his ability to connect with audiences, despite the fact that he has been accused of being involved in controversy. David's career is definitely not over, despite the fact that he has sold millions of books and has left an indelible mark on the entertainment industry. Would you be interested in seeing David make a comeback to television? In the comments section below, please share your thoughts. In order to ensure that you are never unaware of any updates, make sure to subscribe and enable notifications.